Mzansi, you are listening to Farmers Inside Track, proudly brought to you by Food for Mzansi. Officially, this is the world's best podcast for 2024, as awarded by One IFRA, the global organization for the world's press. My name is Duncan Masiwa, and welcome to another episode of our Farmer Mentor series. Now, in this episode, we chat with Zabion De Wee, a Free State livestock farmer who also grows sunflowers and watermelons. Now, with an impressive diversification strategy that includes cattle, pigs, and poultry, Zabion shares some of the biggest lessons he's learned, the farming practices he swears by, and his ambitious plans to become the largest watermelon producer in the Free State. Zabion, it is lovely having you on our podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Duncan. It's always a pleasure speaking to you guys at Food for Mzansi.
Fantastic. Now, of course, you are no stranger to Food for Mzansi. We've probably had you on this platform at least 4 times. So welcome back. Lovely having you with us. For those that might not know who Zabion the farmer is, give us a bit of background about, how you got into the agricultural space and what exactly it is that you do.
My journey in agriculture actually started in grade 10. I had to move from school. So what actually happened is I started becoming a little bit of a rebel. A teacher recommended that my mom puts me in a better school that I can focus a little bit more. And then it so happened that I saw the agricultural school and I fell in love with what they advertised, the farm life, the milking, the farm activities and everything. And I said to my parents, I really want to go to Lambodal, which is agricultural school. In 2005, I was one of only, 5 non-white children in the school. But I fell in love with agriculture and I got involved in the milking in the mornings. I got involved with the poultry, taking out eggs. I took all the agricultural subjects, agricultural science. I did practical agriculture. I did a lot of short courses in school. So my love for agriculture basically started there, but also because I come from a place like Transburg, it's a farming community. The people you look up to is the farmer because, it's for the boy in the city is like seeing the big shot lawyers and all those things. For me, seeing the farmer with the big bucky and the sheep at the back and the nice tractors and all those things, that was for me the things that I aspired to be. So that's where my journey started. And after that, I went to Grootfontein Agricultural College because remember, I didn't grow up with land. So the only place I could get even more experience was to go to a place where there's land available to farm. And that was Grootfontein Agricultural College for me because it's a college with 11,000 hectares where students can in their last year basically farm. And I managed to specialize in Angora goats. At that time, I knew a lot about merinos because I come from a merino area. And I decided, let me go learn something that I'm not that familiar with. And it was such an amazing year, specializing in Angora goats in my final year and learning about the industry and everything. And then after that, I did an internship with National Wool Growers Association. And I just started falling more in love with it. And that's where the advisory service came in. Then I worked with the mentor, Louis Venter, who showed me how to mentor the farmers, how to give advice, what is important to look at and everything. And then my career expanded to OVK. And then while at OVK, I started doing this thing of buying a few sheep here and there and rent on other farmers for lands and say, can I keep this 10? Can I keep this 20? Can I keep like this? So that's how I got into the farming side of things, but then also became a junior agricultural advisor at OVK, where now it was my primary role to learn and help farmers. And while there, I also did my agricultural management degree because I realized it's important if I want to become a mentor and help farmers, I must know exactly what's happening in the industry, what is the standards and what is needed for the farmers on the ground. And because I've done it, I've started enjoying it so much. I went to do another degree in project management because now I got involved in projects where you have to give over a project after a certain time. And I needed to understand how do you start something on a farm and how do you end it and how do you give it over? Still in between having little bits of sheep here and there and everything. And then I started applying to the Department of Land Reform to get land. And fortunately, only almost 10 years later, in 2019, I managed to get land where I could now scale up my farming business. But in between there, I also did my honors and masters in agriculture and sustainability. because for me, it's important to look at the sustainability of where we're going with farming and not trying to fill into the mainstream of agriculture, but then farmers don't necessarily need to go that way. So I looked at how can I make it easier for black farmers to get into a market that is so well developed in South Africa, but also it's so difficult for them to come in. So that was my focus in my study. So, and in 2019, I started Bratya farming.
And that's exactly what we're going to talk a bit about later. You know, your journey is absolutely amazing. And I know that you have a passion for the development of South Africa's black farmers and the work that you do. And I'm quite excited to hear what you'll be sharing with us throughout this episode and what farmers listening to this episode can actually take home and hopefully implement on their farms wherever they are in whichever corner of South Africa. But what's amazing to me is that you went from being a rebel in your younger days to specializing in Angora goats and then becoming one of South Africa's, I believe, leading young farmers and founding Bratya Boerdery, which is what we are talking about today. Bratya Boerdery, quickly, the name, tell us a bit about the name behind it, what exactly it is that you focus on.
The name is really interesting. Bratya is brothers in Russia. Me being in this agricultural journey, I have a little brother called Bongi. He always followed me around and he would see things. And I never pushed him into agriculture because I feel like everybody needs to make their own choices. And he just started falling in love with agriculture because of what I'm doing and the stories I'm telling him and the exposure. Because some of this farmer visits, I would just take him along so that he can see what I'm doing. And he really fell in love with it. And then I told him, listen, if you're serious about this, I want you to farm with me. And I don't want you to make the mistakes that I did and took the unnecessarily long roads. I can help you do this and we can build an empire. We thought of a name and I said, I want to say brothers, but brothers were taken. And then I said, let's take brothers in another language. And then we got to Bratya. It's just so catchy and it always starts a conversation. So that's where Bratya farming comes in. And it was in 2019. We just started. We just got the land and there was just basically nothing. And we had to start from scratch, building that farming to what it is today.
Amazing. Tell us a bit about your farming profile. I mentioned at the beginning, sunflower, watermelon, of course, livestock. Where did you exactly start? Did you start out with livestock or was it sunflower? Maybe take us through that process.
I started out with cattle, got the sheep that I had because that time of stock theft. And the fencing on the farm wasn't that good for it. So I started with cattle and then I upgraded the cattle. What I also want to mention here is having people in your corner and having established commercial farmers is very important. So there was a Yapi in my life. When I left college, he actually came and headhunted me at the agricultural college. So I went to work for him and I actually enjoyed it. But then I got an opportunity to go study further and I left the farm, but we still kept a very good relationship. That time we had cattle. When I say cattle, there was no breed. It was Deermekaar and everything. And I said to him, Yapi, please help me establish a proper breed of animals because I want to go somewhere with this and I want to make a life out of this. And he really helped me. If I say help me to a point where if I had to go to the bank and say I want 5 million rand, I was never going to get it. So he helped me upgrade my genetics and the animals that I have to the value of more than 5 million. And he mentored me. So he was the guy that I can call and say, the animals are doing this. What do I do here? The animals are doing that. How do I do that? So it escalated my growth. So coming from cattle to now having established Boervelder and Drakensberger breed just put me 5 years in front because of that better genetics that I found. So that's how we started. And then I tried out sheep. But then Duncan is very important. Respect the area that you're farming in. Don't come with because I have knowledge about sheep and I love merinos. You think merinos is going to work. The area will tell you what you can farm with. That was my biggest financial mistake because I lost sheep left, right, and center. I came with this, I know sheep, so I will make a success of it. And farmers want me to say, Zabion, this is not a merino area. The conditions, the soil, the grazing, it's not made for that kind of animal. I made big losses on it and I realized stick with the cattle, that time now with the Boervelder and Drakensberger breed. And then I went into planting because the watermelons are thriving. So my first year was a great flop. I learned so much. The second year was bad. From the third year, I started making money. So now the fourth and the fifth year, I can actually make a great deal of money because now I've listened to what the area says. I've seen what's working in the area And I'm focusing on doing that. And also you can plant sunflower because it's a semi-low rainfall area. If we are lucky, we get 450 mils of rain. It's okay for sunflower. So last year was my first successful planting of sunflower. And this year we're going to more than triple it. So I'm going to go way big with the sunflower and then also now adding layers because now I want to focus on cash flow. Because I'm not doing a full-time job anymore, I need to make sure that there's every month cash flow in the farm. And eggs is the best way to make sure that you have monthly income and that you can run the cost of the farm on a month-to-month basis.
So just going back to the watermelon, you mentioned, I think in the first and second and probably third season or year of planting, you had some challenges there. Maybe take us through those challenges that you faced that led to you not yielding what you had hoped for.
I heard someone use the word, say, calculator farmer. When I started with watermelons, I was a calculator farmer. So calculator farmer is you make the calculations in your head and you predict what the outcome is going to be. So for example, I said, well, if I plant 8,000 seeds in a hectare and I get 2 watermelons, that means I'm going to get 1.1 million rand. And I went with it. Farmers want me to say, no, this is a dry area. You're not going to plant more than 4,000 seeds. So I went again. It was a learning curve. I went to plant that first hectare and I did it my way and I got no yield because I didn't know what I was doing. I was still Googling a lot of things. I didn't know the good guys that is planting watermelons that well. So I literally, the first year I lost all that money. So the second year I got a bit smarter and I said, no man, let me go look at the farmers that is doing this for years now, that is making a living out of. So I went to the best guy and I just rocked up to him and said, listen, I need you to help me. I'm making too much mistakes with the watermelons and I want to do it properly. And he really helped me. That's why I say you need to make sure that you connect yourself with the right commercial farmers because some farmers really are out there to help each other and they want to see you succeed. The farmer really helped me and he gave me advice on what to do. So I started planting lace. My crop was beautiful. And then on Christmas Day, there came a hailstorm to the farm and I lost everything. When I say everything, it was like in 15 minutes, the hail damaged my whole crop. I was so devastated. I literally started crying. And oh, by the way, when the hailstorm came, I was in the field gathering the sheep. Yeah. So me and my brother, the hail beat us. We were bleeding. That's how big the hailstorm was. Because I had a broken arm and he wanted to come and find me in the field and the sheep was disappearing. Some of the sheep knew there was a hailstorm coming and they just disappeared. And I was looking for them and then the hailstorm broke out. So that year I lost everything now because of the hailstorm. And that's why I say from the third year, I started making money because now I've learned, don't plant everything at once. Make sure that you leave gaps between so that the hail will kill the young plants, but the smaller plants will survive, or the ones that hasn't germinated yet will survive. So that you always have that in betweens. So it was a learning curve. This year, I know now I have to plant in 5 sections to make sure that 100 hectares I'm planning to plant. If there's a heat wave coming, or if there's a hailstorm coming, or if there's a drought coming, not all of them will be damaged. So this is what I've learned now over the years and having a mentor like James Urtel, which is the biggest guy in the area planting watermelons. So it just didn't come overnight and book smart wasn't just enough. I needed to go to their growing pains. But now I can help a farmer to say, don't go and be Zabion and think by doing calculator sums, you're going to make the money. Rather ask and make sure that your mentor is doing it and what he's doing, you can better on that. That's what happened with my watermelons.
Sure, that's a devastating story. Someone would listen to that and ask themselves, after having gone through all those challenges and having lost everything, what makes you wake up and say, I'm going to continue doing this?
Duncan, I have a young couple, labor farmers, and we once made a joke about it. It's like, are we not just stupid? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us that last year you failed with your crop and then you plant for the next season? Yeah, the conclusion is actually like, I know in my heart that farmers are not made in the university. Farmers are not made in colleges. You are either born a farmer or you're not. Because Duncan, to be honest with you, I would tell you, it's stupid to know that you failed last year. You lost hundreds of thousands. And then the next season you come back and you do the same thing. With knowing the same things can happen. So you must have a passion, but it goes beyond passion. It must be something that you are willing to say, you know what, even for the next 4 years, if I don't make money, I still love doing this. I still love the soil. I still love waking up to the smell of rain. I still love the feeling of seeing the animals grow, the new calves and everything. So there must be a great, great love to what you're doing. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed because there will be difficult years in agriculture.
Let's talk about sunflowers for a minute, because that's also a part of your farming portfolio. When did that become an addition to what it is that you do? And maybe take us through the practices that you follow there.
So with the sunflowers, after I made a little bit of money from the watermelons, and I realized, okay, now let me take a chance on sunflowers. So I started small. I started with 50 hectares. And then again, I went to my mentor, James Urtel, and I said, James,
Just stop you there. That's not small. 50 hectares is not small.
okay, but you see where I come from, that is small. That's considered small.
Okay.
That to me is really small because my mentor is doing way bigger.
Sure.
So again, I went to James Urtel. I said, James, I want to plant sunflower now, but I want to do it right from the beginning. Can you please mentor me? Can you please help me? Because I don't have half of the equipment I don't have. So you really need to help me do this properly. And you won't believe it. At some point, my sunflowers was looking better than his. But he was so proud of me that he would call now and again and say, hey, how is your sunflowers doing? How is it? I'm so glad to see if things are growing proper, because that's the relationship we have built. Because for him, even though he was going through, because remember in December where that long heat wave over that lasted almost 3 weeks. Farmers around me, they got damaged because I planted late because I had to wait for a planter and all those things. Mine missed the heat wave, so I did way better than a lot of the farmers around me. But I was on the phone constantly with mentors and guys and technical guys and say, hey, how do I do this? This needs to happen. This needs. And that time I also went through a very serious health issue. So sometimes I couldn't even be in the field. I had to manage out of the bed. And then my mom would force me to stay in the bed because I was really not well. But that's how I started my first 50 hectares. So now this year, I'm planning to go to 200. Because I say, learn what you can lose. But don't take all your money and then put it into 200 hectares, because then you're going to lose millions if you make mistakes. So now that I've learned, I've gone through the processes. My brother has learned from starting to open virgin land to planting the seed to harvesting. So there was a good learning curve for him because, like I said, I was really sick. I couldn't be on a tractor. And then now, this season, the processes that we've learned, we've seen do this better, do this on time, do this better. So now we can move to 200 hectares of sunflower. For me, still 200 sounds a bit small, but I know there's some farmers that is dreaming about a 50. So maybe I must be just a little bit more grateful that I can move up to 200 hectares of sunflowers.
It's quite impressive, and it shows where your mind is in terms of the scale that you are producing at and where you see yourself and being future focused. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was excited to have you on the podcast, because I know, how future focused you are and what people can learn from that. Maybe staying with sunflowers for a second, you mentioned practices that you and your brother sort of looked at to say, okay, what can we do better? Where do we need to improve? What were some of those things that you picked up on? And, hopefully it's something that the listener can learn from.
Duncan, the one biggest mistake I did is I didn't properly calculate my diesel cost. Duncan, if I can tell farmers, overestimate your diesel cost, because there was days where the tractor had to stop because I didn't plan for the amount of diesel I was going to use. The first thing I would tell farmers now is plan really well and put 20% on everything that you might do. Because you don't want to be caught in a situation where you plan, say, 70,000 Rand for diesel, and then 3/4 of the work. Now it's crucial to have the diesel. Now you realize, but we run out of funds. Now you have to make a plan B. So planning is really, really, really crucial. And then also be present, be there when they calibrate the planter, because with the first few rows, we made a mistake. We didn't calibrate the planter correctly, and then we double seeded. It's a lot of money wasted, because a bag of sunflower is almost 4,000 Rand. And you can't now go pick it up again. Be present. Make sure you calibrate. Do your testing before. Make sure your tractors are serviced. Make sure you have all the right equipment in place. So for me, the struggle was I don't have everything yet. That's why now this season I'm planning to have everything. So that when I start, I know I can continue until I'm done. So that is very important.
Tell me a bit about your markets for both. Where do your products go?
With my sunflower, I went to my local cooperative, which is the Interland in the area. So what I do is you look at suffix prices, and then, according to suffix prices, this is what I might get. Then obviously they look at the grade. I don't have the facilities to hold, but I'm planning in future. So one day when you come and visit on the farm, probably I'll have some facilities to hold so that you can speculate a bit on the price. Yeah. But us, unfortunately, we don't have that. Once you harvest, you have to take it to the silos. So then you get the price of the day. So you call it the spot price of what the suffix price is. It might be a 500 and down or a 500 and up, depending on the quality. With the watermelons now, because I've started doing things right, and Duncan, for me, quality is everything. I've really established myself to a point where the market calls me and asks me, don't I have any more watermelons? I go to Kimberley Market, I go to Bloemfontein Market, and this year, because I'm going bigger, I'm probably going to go to Joburg Market and Welkom Market with my watermelons. And the focus was to get a real good quality watermelon out there that there's a demand for it. Because if you don't do watermelons properly, I mean, you have tasted a bad watermelon. There's nothing as bad as being excited to eat a watermelon and it's watery or if it's tasteless or something. We focus on a quality watermelon. So my watermelons basically sell itself before it's on the truck. But it happened since last season because we've managed to keep upgrading the quality, and the quality just got better and better. Having a good relationship with the market agents. That's something that the guys don't understand how important that is, because a market agent can break you or make you. Because they will tell you, Zabion, we're going to need a lot of watermelons. The price is going to be good. Bring in now. Or Zabion, hold back because now it's a cold weekend coming. We're not going to have the best prices. So farmers must understand, make friends with your agent. If you can, take him ahead of the farm, ask him how's his children, build a relationship, build a real relationship with him. Build a relationship.
Take him or her for dinner if you can.
Yeah, try and build a real relationship so that when he thinks about you, he knows who's Zabion. He doesn't just see a number and he's like, okay, this is not going to be a good week. I don't care if he brings or if he doesn't bring. You see, that gives me advantage in the market because I make a point of building relationships with the people. And I'm teaching my brother the same thing, to say, go shake the guy's hand, ask him who he is, ask him what's his interest, try to do small talk. And we take these things for granted when we see the commercial guys do it, but it's such an important part of your marketing because it might be that 20 Rand difference this week and the 20 Rand difference next week. And then if you're 200 watermelons, that 20 Rand is a big difference. That's how I establish my market. I really build my relationships around my market. Same with my eggs and my chickens. I make sure that I deliver such a quality that people keep calling back and want more. That's really how I establish myself in the market.
Zabion, I see you as a farmer who's quite future focused, big on technology, big on innovation. Maybe take us through that part of your business. What are some of the tech or innovative practices rather that you've implemented in your farming enterprise, and have you started seeing already benefits of those practices?
Yeah, Duncan, last year for the first time I planted with a very good tractor, and this year I'm planning to do AB lines, doing more precision farming. Because I studied conservation agriculture and sustainability, obviously, I want to move away from wasting diesel and wasting things that is not necessary. So when I talk about the AB lines, it means just focus on where you're going to plant. Don't unnecessarily disturb the soil. Don't unnecessarily waste diesel on activities that you don't need to. So we've depleted our soils in South Africa. And that's actually a topic for another day when we talk about conservation agriculture. But our soils are being messed up. It's basically going back to what nature wants us to do, but also it is the trend going forward. If we want to farm sustainable, we need to focus on practices that is minimal soil disturbance, but in getting the maximum out of the soil. Finding ways to go back to organic fertilizers and stuff, because I'm trying to see how far as possible can I stay away from chemicals in the soil so that the soil can do what it's supposed to do. So being future focused, I want to fix the soil, and where I can, I don't want to disturb the soil. That's why it was so important for me to say what's working in the area. Sunflowers is working. Watermelons is working because it's a desert fruit. Again, it sounds like you're going backwards, but actually you are saving the land for the next generation. So where I don't have to disturb any soil, I will not. Same with the chickens. I'm not going to go into batteries and everything. I want to keep it as natural as possible. That's why, I do free range. I want to make it as natural as possible, but also still make sure that I can focus on the demand out there and not now become this hippie that does it in my backyard and think, kumbaya, this is how I'm going to save the world. I still want to make sure we are a food secure country, but also make sure that people are eating quality, no hormone in my meat or my eggs. And also the watermelon that comes off, I can proudly say that there's no chemicals in it. I'm not there 100% yet, but that's where I aspire to be.
I love that you are thinking about conservation farming and the sustainability that you mentioned. That's quite important. Some of the things that you've already started implementing, and you're sort of looking to take that up a few notches going forward. Do you see those kinds of practices giving you a market edge in the future? That's a conversation that I'm thinking about quite a lot these days. When a farmer implements these kinds of practices that farms with nature, not against nature, Does it give them a market edge in South Africa? How do you see that currently and perhaps going forward in the future?
I see that it's giving a market edge. I mean, there's been smaller trends, but because South Africa is so, how can I say, the majority of a middle class and poor people, we can't really now see the benefits of it when it comes to getting the price. Because not everybody can go to a Woolies, not everybody can go to a Checkers free range. But a farmer now, we can say that you can get a bit extra on your product because of that. I mean, in wool now, they have that where they say the sustainability working of wool. So farmers get a lot more for having all those practices in place in the wool industry. It was never there before than the guys that don't do it. When it comes to free range, you pay more for a free range egg in the shop than you do for a normal petri egg. But where the biggest benefit is going to be, we are farming at a pace where we're not going to beat nature. So your biggest benefit is going to be nature is going to help you make the most money out of this because nature can do it. We just mess it up so much that we have to put in the chemicals. We have to put in all those things. But once we fix the soils and we fix the land, then you will see that you actually make more money. Because I always say, let me make an example of my calves. I don't do any extra feeding except for supplements that the fowl doesn't have. So I sell my calves, say, at 8 months. Where a guy that feeds, he sells his calf at 6 months. So now our cows weigh the same, but mine only ate of the felt, which our nature intended it. I had to feed. So say, for example, he gets 12,000 for his animal and I get 11,000. It cost me 3,000 rand to feed that animal and it cost him 6,000. So who's making more money at the end of the day? And that's what I'm trying to say. That will be the biggest benefit because nature will always help you. But if you have to do a lot of artificial things, it's costing you. So you can say you're making 30,000, but it costs you 28,000 rand to get to 30,000. I make 15,000, but it only cost me 3,000. Just as an example to make people understand how you should see the benefit of conservation agriculture. As a black farmer, I think if we start right, it's going to be easier for us than first now want to go the old way and then realize, oh, but why didn't we just always start right? Then it's easier now to grow into it and have that mind shift. Because remember, it's a mind shift. Yeah. The people that pays for the adverts is the fertilizer guys, it's the chemical guys and all those people. So they will not tell you the truth because you're going to lose millions and it's $1 billion industry when we talk about this thing. So it's a bit of a hippie statement to make, but not a lot of people wants to see the change.
It's quite interesting. Two things that stand out for me in your response to that question is the importance of starting right. And then the importance of understanding that when it comes to conservation farming and more sustainable sort of practices, the benefit is in terms of, putting more money back into your pocket as opposed to looking at it from a point of view that you will have a market edge in the market.
Because South Africa is not there yet, but in the more developed countries, they're there. They're there where they really pay a premium for free range, for making sure that plants are not genetically modified, BT maize. They are way further than us, but their living standards allow it. But I also want to be realistic. I can't expect a gogo that has an income of less than 2,000 rand a month to go buy my free range eggs that is almost double the one of a bakery. For her, it's survival. So health is now secondary because she just wants their food tonight. She doesn't think about this one is hormones in it and this one doesn't. So that's why I say we mustn't now be so radical that we don't think realistically. South Africa has passed the tipping point where we say we can just stop BT maize, for example. We need to find ways to gradually change again so that it can also become affordable for the person that can only afford the cheaper chicken, that can only afford the BT maize products and stuff. And I mean, if you see in some African countries, they stopped it. They don't want genetically modified maize in their countries. If you do export it, they want it to be only for animal use and you must slash it. Otherwise, they don't want to help it because they don't want people to start planting BT maize in their countries.
Interesting conversation. Zabion, you also big on diversification. Apart from sunflower, watermelon, you mentioned now the cattle that you have and of course pigs as well, and poultry and soon eggs. Tell us a bit about your diversification strategy and how you approach it.
If the farmer tells me he does one thing and I'm like, I hope you have millions in the bank, because of agriculture is such a cycle business. Like now the last 2 years, cattle farmers suffered. There's no other way to put it. They didn't get good money for their products. They couldn't sell. They couldn't buy. Prices have really been struggling. So now imagine if I'm just doing cattle, it was going to be very difficult for me. So My main reason for telling new era farmers to please diversify is because of the cycle nature of the prices of agriculture. Now is the best time to be a crop farmer. As you know, that prices are really good. But it's going to turn around at some point. Then the cattle farmers will make more money again. And then also, the things that can bring you in everyday money, like your pigs and your chickens and your eggs, those are things that can keep your farm's cash flow healthy. Because with cattle, you get money once a year. With sheep, you might get money twice a year. But what happens in between? You don't come from generations of good financial management. I want to say in my first year, I've built up so much debt and things that I needed to pay. By the time you get the money for your calves, you need to pay so many things again. Then it's almost like you never had it. So then I realized eggs give me money literally every week. I can pay salaries. I can buy diesel. I can fix things on the farm. I can do the whole running course without even touching the money of the weaners when they come. I don't even have to touch the sunflower money because now I can just go bigger in the next season. So that is why it's so crucial for a new era farmer to diversify. It will help you stay afloat on the farm. If you're just a sheep farmer, wool has been suffering for the last 5 years. Wool prices are starting to change now. So what will you do if you're only a wool farmer? Or if you only focus on wool and meat? Because sheep has become unaffordable, even though it's so expensive for the farmer to raise them. The market just resists at a certain price. So what are you going to do? You have to have something else. So it's really crucial to diversify. And if you have the land, why not? The land is available. Use it.
You work a lot with new era farmers in terms of farmer development. Are there any mistakes that you can think of that new era farmers make when it comes to adopting a diversification strategy?
Yes, there's many mistakes we want to do. First of all, I call it we want to go fancy. We want to have the best of everything first. We want to have the most beautiful cages for our chickens. And like I said, we want to go into the traditional things of how batteries work and stuff. But like I said, then you must make sure your bank balance can cover all those things. So that's the first mistake we do. We want to look at the biggest guy and copy him exactly, but we don't know how he got there. And then secondly is you don't look at what your market does. Duncan, if I am in a place where people don't like pork, why would I go start a piggery? Then it means I have to travel 200 kilometers. I must first make sure, is there people that want pork in my area? Then I know, okay, this is going to be a viable business. If I'm 2 farms away from a rainbow chicken and they can sell the chicken for 30 Rand a kilo, and I know it costs me 30 Rand to raise my chicken, why would I go start chickens next to them? So secondly, look at your market. Look what is around you and what is needed, and then answer that demand. And again, coming back to the soil, don't go plant mangoes in the Free State. They will not grow. Look at what the soil tells you. The soil will tell you, we get frost here. We have deep soils. Our rain is like this. This is a maize and sunflower area, and you can plant this and this on a smaller scale. So do those 3 things. Then you will make a success of diversification. Because what we do these days is, I see a good article that you write on a farmer that is farming on a rooftop in Joburg. And then I'm thinking, I have a flat roof, let me also do that. But that's catering to a certain market. So we must put the things in context of why you want to do it. Even saying this, now farmers here, okay, Zabion is making good money with watermelons, but now you farm in a clay area. That's not a diversification strategy for you because it's worked with Zabion. Zabion is in an area where watermelons are doing well. Go ask what is doing well in clay soils in your area and use that as diversification. Just don't read a good article and get excited about the numbers and go do it. You will unfortunately fail.
That's an important point there. It comes back to understanding your soil conditions and the area that you're farming and taking those things into consideration when implementing a diversification strategy. Zabion, we're almost nearing the end of our discussion. There's so much things that I want to talk to you.
You talk too much.
No, I love it because you're giving us a lot of useful information that we can listen to and hopefully take back to our farming practices. Let's quickly talk about financial management. I mean, your profile is quite diverse, from sunflowers, watermelons, livestock, cattle specifically, poultry as well. How do you go about making decisions about what is being prioritized from a financial point of view? And does it change with every season?
Yes, Duncan, it does change. But I just want to first come back to financial management. I don't want to paint this picture of everything was just rosy and beautiful for me starting. One of my biggest mistakes when I started was my financial management. I had no clue what I was doing. I thought because I did a little bit of financial management in agriculture, I knew what I was doing. So firstly, make sure you get someone that is smarter than you with financial management a bookkeeper or accountant or someone that can help you as a farmer, because you don't have to be an expert in finances. That was my first mistake. I suffered a great deal because I wanted to do everything on my own. Now I've appointed people that can help me and my things look better. Coming back to your question, once that was sorted out and I wasn't just jumping around and I wasn't sure what this is, now the money that I get goes for specific things. Like I said now, I learned, have a diesel budget. Make sure that you'll have enough diesel for what needs to happen. Make sure you can cover your workers' salaries at least for the next 6 months. Have your things properly in place. Tell yourself, this year I'm planning to plant this much hectares. What will it cost me? And then just add a 20% on that just in case. Sometimes a ship can turn around in a canal and it can just block everything. And then fertilizer prices just goes up overnight. Then now, because you've thought, oh, a 5% escalation is good, I'll make it. So that is the things that you need to have in place when it comes to your financial planning and see something through. I also made the mistake halfway and I realized, oh, I don't actually want to do this anymore because I'm too busy or it takes too much work. So sit with your staff, sit with your family and plan and make sure that you execute really well. That is also one of the reasons why I said there's a lot of money in this piggery thing, but I haven't established my market well enough. Let me for now stop. And then once now that I have more time, establish my market again and then come back and start small again and grow it to where I know it can be. I've managed to sort out the quality, what farmers want, but then I started struggling with my marketing. And also when you plan these things, you have the end in mind by saying, what is the worst case scenario? If I plant sunflowers and the price fall to 5,000, will I survive? Then do your calculations accordingly to know that my input cost can't pass 5,000 because then I'm going to do it at a loss. I need to feed the pig at 30 rand a kilo. Otherwise, I'm going to do it at a loss. So that financial planning must be 100% in place in order for you to succeed at the end of the product, because we stopped at having the joy of farming and seeing the beautiful animals. But then when we go and sell, we realize, oh, we actually paid too much to feed these things, or the feed was too much and we didn't realize it because we just enjoyed farming. You need to have the end in mind.
Zabion, probably not a fair question to ask, but if you had to list it in 3 points, what would you say? What are those 3 things that you believe significantly contributed to your farming success? And we've talked about the challenges that you've gone through. So clearly it hasn't been an easy ride. But if you had to look at, you overcoming those challenges, what are those 3 things that you say contributed to your success?
Duncan, number 1, be open to learn at all times. And when I say at all times, even from your workers, you are not established enough to say, I know everything. That's number 1 that I've learned. When I made that mind shift to say, be open to learn, it changes a lot of things. Number 2, get your financial management in place. Don't try and do it all. Don't think you're bad if you know, hey, but I don't know how to plan for the next 6 months. Get yourself a bookkeeper. Get yourself someone smarter than you to do it. And number 3, plan really well. Plan with the end in mind. I think it's one of the most crucial things that I think us as new era farmers in general don't do. Like, we farm because we love animals. We want to have beautiful animals. But what are you going to do once that beautiful animal is ready? And are you not keeping it too long on the farm? Do I know what the price is going to be when I sell my sunflowers? Do I know what the price is going to be when I sell my watermelons? Another example of plan with the end in mind is, I know I need to plant now so that my watermelons can be ready in February. I'll never make the December market. If I do, I'm going to get the least money. So I focus on the Easter market. So that's planning with the end in mind. So those are the 3 things that I can say is my key giveaways. Always be willing to learn. Have someone help you with financials if you can't do it by yourself. And it's okay if you can't. You're a farmer. You don't have to be an expert on everything. Yeah. And thirdly, plan with the end in mind.
I love that. Future plans for you. What does the next 5-10 years look like for your farming enterprise?
Whoa, Duncan, I want Bratia to become a household name in the South African industry and in the SADC. My plan is to make farming really, really attractive to people that want to take it serious. I want to make sure that I have the best quality of watermelons. On the southern side of the Free State, I want to be the biggest in watermelons. Yeah. I'm going to be the biggest in watermelons, me and my brother. And then also I want to teach people, man. I want to help people. I want to have a farm where you just come and learn, and it doesn't matter if you have a matric or you've never been to school. if you have the passion and you have the heart for agriculture, I want there to be a platform where you can really learn and go where there is a farmer or someone that can make a living out of the land. So that is my big future plans now. Firstly, I want to establish myself as one of the best in the watermelon market. And then secondly, train people and take people up with me in this whole journey.
There you have it. Zabion De Wee, founder of Bratja Boerdery, a Free State farming enterprise specializing in livestock, sunflowers and watermelons. You can of course read more on this topic by visiting www.foodformzansi.co.za. That's a wrap. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. From me, Duncan Masiwa, our technical producer Megan van der Vent, and the rest of #Team Food for Mzansi, thanks for listening.